passage of HB 1D. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
83 yeas, 28 nays, Mr. Speaker.
Show the bill passes. Read the next bill.
None on the desk, Mr. Speaker.
This is Black Girls Politicking. I'm Michaela. Today I am here with Florida State Representative Angie Nixon. For individuals who may not be familiar with who you are and the work that you're doing as well as the race that you're running, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I am Angie Nixon, born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. I know y'all hear this country drawl. My people are from Southern Georgia. And I am a wife. I am a mother of 5 through a blended family with the marriage and everything. My husband decided to add a dog to that equation. I have actually served as a state lawmaker in the state of Florida for the past 6 years. I also witnessed them banning books in Florida, as well as the teaching of true Black history. So I opened up a banned bookstore and coffee shop, and we teach Black History Month twice a month on the weekends. And I am a community organizer. I previously was a union organizer. I'm someone who just really loves the community. And one of the main reasons that I decided to get involved in organizing and movement and politics was because I lost my cousin to the school prison pipeline. He was actually shot and killed after having been in and out of jail because his neighborhood schools didn't have the same resources that my school, which I got bused across town for at an early age, had. And so I am a staunch advocate for public education, and that is why I decided to get involved.
So you're a staunch advocate for like very progressive policies as well, which I'm also from the South. I'm from Texas. And we don't usually see candidates that are so openly progressive. And I was going through your policy priorities, and they're literally so incredible. But before we get into those, I want to talk a little bit about what happened last week. So you have since gone viral for making noise in the Florida State Capitol, and you began to protest with a bullhorn against the gerrymandering taking place in Florida. We're also seeing it all over this country. Can you talk a little bit about what led to that moment and why you believed not only were you the woman to do this protest, but why did you think it was important to protest what's happening in Florida?
Yeah, for sure. So our governor, who is not supposed to draw maps, that is the job of the state lawmakers, the legislators. He decided again, because back in 2022, he unconstitutionally removed Black congressional districts. So I want to be clear, this was not the first time that I did a peaceful protest on the House floor. I did it back in 2022 as well. I shut it down for over an hour, actually. Yeah. And so he decided to answer the call of Donald Trump to southern states, right? And to southern states, or particularly Republican-led states, in regards to Donald Trump asking for him to rig maps so that he can get more congressional districts. And Ron DeSantis is doing this is because he's a lame duck and he needs a job. He has nowhere to go after he leaves office. And so he decided to basically rig some maps in favor of Republicans. And what's interesting is that he actually gave these maps, presented these maps to Fox News before we even saw them as lawmakers. And then he color-coded them blue and red so that he could show the seats that were once blue, 4 of them, that would now become, like in East Tampa, for instance. That community is a predominantly Black community, and all of them were represented by one congressional district. After these new maps came out, that one area, that one community, they now are cut up and divided amongst 3 other Congress people. And that is because they wanted to dilute Black power and Black representation for Black voters to be able to vote for who they wanted to vote for.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think one conversation that came out of this moment as well is something that we saw very similarly in Texas, where State Rep Nicole Collier was the only Black woman on the floor protesting against the maps as well back here in Texas. For you, what does that moment mean to be the only Black woman? Because obviously I'm looking around, I'm like, where's everyone else at? Like, aren't y'all
Yeah.
outraged as well? What was that moment like for you to be the only person taking a stand against these maps?
Yeah, and I want to say that my Black women that were there, they were supportive of me. I am more outspoken, and I'm an organizer, so I'm an activist. So I know sometimes you need to do things. I would say, you know, is something that I always do. It's a hill that I will always continue to die on. Um, it is. I don't just consider the moment like being in that moment at the time. I consider like the ramifications of it. And the ramifications of it is that it highlighted what has been happening in Florida. A lot of people didn't know that we were going through it with the maps as well. And so it brought about like awareness about how these folks are trying to take our power. And it's getting people galvanized and pissed off and wanting to get involved and fight back around these maps and around the recent Supreme Court ruling on the Calais versus Louisiana case, right? And so that's what we need. We need more people in this fight on the front lines, pushing back because they are literally trying to take our power away from us. We should not cede the power that we have to make our voices known and to elect people who are going to fight for us, right? And then not only that, like there's a next step to that. When we elect people, we have to hold them accountable as well. We can't just elect people and like that's it. No. And even before we elect folks, we should be demanding these elected officials or people, these candidates that are running, we should be demanding that they fall in line with some of like our agendas, right? Like we need to come up with our own agendas in our communities and our own budgets that we want to see implemented and demand that they sign off on it. If they don't, then we don't vote for them. We vote for the candidate that does.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny you mentioned that because that's something that my friends and I talk about a lot. For example, Mayor Mamdani in New York, we were like, we really fell in love with him in his campaign. And then he was elected and we're like, okay, but now we have to hold you accountable, right? Like there's no end to it. You don't get to be elected and then not be held accountable. So talking about accountability and electability, you're currently running for United States Senate in Florida. Why do you believe now is your moment and the time for a Black woman in that seat? And why should Florida residents choose you?
For sure. So I believe that Floridians should choose me because I have been on the front lines fighting for Floridians for nearly 2 decades here in this state, but even more so recently when all of these attacks have gotten worse and crueler and more harmful to our communities. I am someone who is unbought and unbossed. The only people that I am beholden to are hardworking, everyday people. And I believe right now, we need a new vision for our country. Right now, we have folks who are in power who are only beholden to greedy corporations and corrupt billionaires, right? They aren't listening to everyday people. I come from the ideology that hardworking, everyday people should get to determine what their communities look like and what their economies look like. And currently, right now, we don't have that. And so I believe that we deserve to live in a state where everyone has the opportunity to be healthy, to be prosperous, to be safe. They have our opportunity to be healthy. We need to be passing things like Medicare for all because medical debt is it's the leading cause of people going bankrupt. We want people to be prosperous. We need to demand that these corporations pay people a living wage. We need to increase the federal minimum wage. It needs to no longer be $7.25. It really needs to be roughly $20 or so more, right? We also want people to be safe. We should not be allowing the federal government to weaponize their agencies to go out and to terrorize our communities. ICE, right? And we also need to be making sure that we are paying our teachers a living wage. They need to make at a minimum $65,000 a year, at a minimum, so that they can educate our children, right? We need to do things completely different. We need to make sure that these corporations are paying what they owe. 88 companies made over $105 billion last year. They paid $0 in federal taxes.
Insane.
$0. But they say we don't have any money to make sure we have Medicare for all, or that we have universal childhood education, or that we have free college so that people can actually become successful, productive folks in society, or free vocational programs. So if people don't want to go to college, they can get a trade, right? Like, they say we don't have enough money for that, but they want to spend nearly $2 billion on an endless war. And now they want to spend $1 billion on a ballroom. I'm sorry.
On a
People
ballroom.
on
Yeah.
a ballroom that we won't even be able to have access to. Like, absolutely not. That is our money.
Mhm.
And I need people to get mad and pissed off about it and do something about it. The way you initially do something about it is you elect people who come from the community, who care about the people, who have a plan and a vision, right? You elect them and then you hold them accountable. And then we got to start hitting people in their purse, right? Hit them in their pocketbooks. And so what do? We need to look at, honestly, like doing some type of mass boycott and even a mass strike. We'll figure that out, right? But like, we need to hit people where their pockets, because it's these greedy corporations that are funding these politicians by keeping them in office, that are pushing these bad policies, like lowering the age of minimum wage here in the state of Florida, like pushing policies to push back the age of retirement and people gaining access to Social Security. And so if we hit them in their pockets, then they will support candidates that like are doing the right things, right? And so we also need to intentionally start investing in small businesses that look out for our communities, that know that what's happening ain't right, that serve as a safe space. We want to continue to invest in those type of businesses so that they can continue to invest in our communities and helping us be whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing you've hit on, and you're running, right? You're running on the following priorities: ending the affordability crisis, honoring the dignity of work, investing in our future, protecting fundamental freedoms, taking back our government, which is a huge one for me. And I think right now we're in a space where everything feels like it's urgent, everything feels like the number one priority. What do you feel is the most urgent, and why?
So I think the number one priority right now is to tackle this affordability crisis right now. People are struggling just to stay alive. Like, it costs so much money just to be alive. People are no longer just working to live, like they are living to work. Like, you wake up and all you can do is work
Yeah.
in order to just be alive. Like, that's not the type of country we should be. People shouldn't have to work more than one job just to be able to keep a roof over their head, food on their table, and go on a vacation. You deserve to work one job and be able to pay for a vacation and have all the things that you need to be like, have a good life.
Yeah.
And that is not happening for the majority of us. But it doesn't have to be this way. Y'all, Black girls that's watching this show, anybody that's watching this show, it does not have to be this way. We deserve to be in a place where, like, all families have stability and all workers have dignity. And every child, every young person has the opportunity to reach the true American dream. Like, that's what we deserve. And if we want that, we can't let these people take our power away. And so we got to lean in. We got to become accomplices in this fight. And we got to organize. The civil rights, like, we are literally in the civil rights moment. Whether or not people want to believe it or not, we are. We are here. Democracy is falling. The America is falling. Some people would say democracy has fallen. We are now witnessing, like, they're targeting state senator Lucas out of Virginia because she pushed to redistrict maps over there. But she took it to the will of the people, like she took it to the people first, and they said, yes, we want to redistrict. And now they're targeting her. Like we constantly, continually see that. Like we see Donald Trump like attacking and targeting people that speak out. But he can't attack and target everybody if we get all involved and engaged. That is the importance of people power. We gotta come together. We have to. If we don't, we're gonna allow them to continue to divide us and take us out one by one. And again, I have 5 kids, and I am not going to leave. I am not going to allow this country to fall without a fight, right? And actually, right, it's falling. So whatever. I am not going to allow them to rebuild this country without my children's values and lives and humanity in the forefront of their minds, right? Like they need to be invested in our children and our future. Like I am fighting for our future.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that. And I love that you spoke to that, especially the future part. I think, I'm a part of Gen Z, and sometimes my yeah, I am. They often say they're like, well, we'll fight in the future. We got a little bit of time. And I'm like, I'm now 28. And I remember growing up in Texas and being told if you go to school, if you get a good job, you'll be able to buy a house. And that feels like a fever dream now, right? Like there's no
My
way.
age is 42. The average age to buy your home, their first home, is 42 now.
Yeah, and it has shifted so quickly, like it only takes literally one terrible administration to shift this country, and unfortunately, we are now seeing two. So with that being said, I often say that our Supreme Court is like a broken clock. They only write every now and again, right? So this past Monday, they actually rolled back the access, or they granted temporary access to abortion pills in the country, across the country. One policy priority that stood out to me was that you are pushing for the restoration and codification of Roe v. Wade. Why is that a priority for you, especially in a state like Florida? And how do you believe that correlates to the needs of Black women?
Black women are 4 times more likely to die giving birth.
Yeah.
Or like just being pregnant. And that is, there's a woman by the name of Sharice in Jacksonville who was forced to have a C-section. We gotta allow people to have bodily autonomy. Like this is our bodies, and we should get to decide what to do with it. If we have to fear like dying in childbirth, we should be able to decide whether or not we want to carry out the fetus, right? We want to keep the fetus or whatever. Like it's our body. I don't think these majority men should be determining what we do with our bodies. And at the end of the day, it just boils down to just the rights of women and like honestly just healthcare. Like women, too many Black women are dying trying to give birth. And too many Black women are dying because they are not, we're seen to have a higher threshold of pain. When we say we're hurting, people tell us we don't know. We're like, nah, it's not, it can't be that bad. And so it's a lot to do with systemic racism.
Yeah.
And but that is one of the major reasons that I am pushing for that.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, I'm so glad to see that you're pushing for that. I think so. I live in Harris County, which is in Houston, and we were just named the deadliest place for Black women when it comes to reproductive health care for the year 2026 or 2025. And this is the third year that we've been named the deadliest place to have a child in this state or in this country. And so it's just interesting that I don't see, in my personal opinion, enough lawmakers pushing for reproductive justice and reproductive health care. So again, that one really stood out for me.
Yeah, they do that because they're about poll numbers. Look, at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about poll numbers if you go out and talk to voters. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I do. I go out and talk to people. I'm not worried about the polls. I'm not letting the polls determine what my platform should be. I go out and talk to people. That's who determines what my platform and policies should be.
Yeah, I love that. So as we close, I'm curious, how can people join you in this fight? How can they help with their campaign? What are the needs of this moment?
Yeah, so the needs of this moment is, I am a Black woman running in a race against an establishment candidate. And let me be clear, he's not even an establishment candidate that has been elected before. He is someone that just moved to the state of Florida. And I think that he was hand selected by the establishment Democrats. And let me be clear, right? Like, I am a Democrat. I have been a lifelong Democrat, but there are some issues within our party. There are some issues within all the parties. But we cannot continue to allow the Democratic Party to use our bodies as Black women to be on the front lines, and then they say we cannot be in leadership. That is very disrespectful, and it's disheartening, and it's just hurtful, right? And so I need people's help, right? Like, I need donations. They're trying to ice me out. Folks are trying to ice me out. The amount of people who have said that I lack the depth and the experience, I'm not qualified, and all the things. And again, I'm running against someone who has never held an office before. Also, like, people are saying that I can't get elected in the South. I'm a Black woman that can't get elected in the South. Well, guess what? If you continue to say that and perpetuate white supremacist, racist talking points, then of course you're making it harder for me to get elected in the House. We as Democrats can't continue to perpetuate the tools of white supremacy, right? Like, and that is what is happening.